Okay, uh, what we're going to be doing here is updating the electronics in one of these JRL RC cars, 1/10 scale motorcraft. These came out in the, I believe, the late 80s, and as with anything, the electronics back then were pretty decent. However, over time, this car here has developed a little wobble with the proportional steering. It's a really good car. It's a fast car. These cars can hit about 18 miles an hour, and they're just really fun. Here's the old proportional steering controller that came with them. They have a limited range. They tend to take off on you if they get out of range. If you're going full speed and you go out of range, they will continue full speed until they crash into something. So the 80s electronics have a little bit less than desired. It has 2 speeds, normal speed and turbo. And like I said, this one will wobble. The front wheels will kind of wiggle when you power it up. So I'm going to go ahead and update this, and I'm going to show you how to do that step by step, what tools, what parts I use or recommended for this, and we'll go through and look at that. So I guess the first thing you want to do is just get everything ordered. So what I have here is basically everything that you're going to use to upgrade this. These cars use a 7.2 volt battery pack. This is kind of an off-brand here, but 7.2 volts. We're going to upgrade this to 9.6 volts. This little battery here, it's a Floureon. In the video, I'll list the part numbers all these so you can find them. So we're going to get away from the 7.2 volts, go to this 9.6, and also there's a little bit of weight loss too, so the car will be a little bit lighter when you do that. For the steering, I'm going to use this little micro controller here, or this little micro servo motor. You don't really need to use the bigger ones in this. It's a street car, it's not off-road, so the steering is not going to experience a lot of stress. I've used these with a lot of success in these cars. I've gone 3 conversions on these, and this one is a champ. It works really well, and it's usually around $7.99. These Floureon batteries, this is a 1800 milliamp hour battery. It lasts a really long time. I haven't ever run this completely out when I would use these. Like, I think 1500 milliamp hours was the old battery, but it was a little heavier, and it was a NiCad before. It's a really good battery. It'll last 15, anywhere from, I've got bored with it after about 15 minutes. It didn't run out of any power. I've never run one of these dry. I think you could probably go a half hour with these, and they're cheap. They're about $9.99, free shipping, $7.99 for this servo motor. Talk about this in a minute. Here's the motor controller. These are on everything's on eBay. They'll be coming from China, but nothing wrong with that, I guess. But this is the controller here. It's a standard. It's a 6 to 12 volt motor controller. Works really well. You can find them anywhere from $12 to $15 online. As for the controller, I have a couple of these Flysky controllers. It's very standard. You could, at this point, you could use any controller receiver you want combination. I'm using the FSGT2 Flysky, and also the corresponding Flysky radio receiver. This is a 3-channel. You only really need a 2-channel, but these come real easy. You can find these anywhere from $5.99 to $6.99. Sometimes you find them 2 for $10. But these are just the ones I use. Now I only have 2 of these controllers. These little FSGT2s. This is about anywhere from $30 to $50, depending on where you get them. I got this again off eBay, and you can use any controller you want or already have, as long as they match. So this is optional, But I went with this because they are cheap and they work great. The range in these is just tremendous. I haven't ever run them out of range. I've gone pretty darn far with them. You know, I have that and this one. Now I have two, so I could run two cars at the same time. I think with these you can run up to 50 or something like that if you have them all programmed. And they give you these, and you have to pair them. And then once they're paired, they're good. And you're also going to need a little bit of foam. This will be to fit this micro. And you can get this at any hobby store, but Michael's, craft stores, anything like that. And it's just foam. It's just crafting foam. You'll find this where they have the little flowers and foamy stuff for kids. This is where they could stick little flowers and designs and stuff, but that's all it is. And then, like I say, here's the part number. I'll list everything. This is 99 cents for one of these. And a little bit of some of the tools you'll need. This is shoe goo. This will be used to glue in. Sometimes these motor controllers don't come with double stick tape, so just a couple dabs of the shoe goo on there. You'll also use that to glue down the controller box, and you could use double stick tape. You know, you don't necessarily have to use this shoe goo stuff, but that works really well for a lot of applications. So I just always have some of this around the house. And you'll need a soldering iron, and the soldering iron will be used to solder the wires onto this controller. And you also have to, we're going to remove this switch from the motor controller, and we're going to add, we're just going to use the switch that's already in this car to turn it on and off, and you'll need a soldering iron to do that. But that is all the tools you really need to do this conversion. If you already have one of these controllers, this is like a 30 with this battery. It's about a $40 for everything you see here. And if you're going to need that, you'll have to, of course, upgrade. But you can use this one controller for all of your cars. And I have a lot of cars. And I've done conversions to these little four-wheel drive cars, and I'm using all the same controllers for all my cars. I'm only 1 to 2 people, so that's why I have 2, just in case I want to have one of my friends join in. And but you can use that. That's what's nice about this, is you can set up all your cars, and you only have to buy one of these, and it'll run all of your cars, however many you have. So I'm gonna pause it here, and we'll get all set up, and we'll start tearing down this Motorcraft car. Okay, let's start tearing this down. Take the antenna wire off, little straw. I got a little cup here for little screws that we're going to be using. Oh, let me get a new cup. Keep these little shot glasses around the lot to hold all the screws. Got a little pad here so we don't scratch it up. There's 6 screws on the bottom. 1, 2, 3. Oop, that one's missing. We'll have to investigate that. Yep. Just like that, should pop right off. I will put this on the side here. And there's the inside of the car. There's the old electronics, the motor controller. These motor controllers do go bad. They're manual. Here's an example of one that's kind of gone bad. You can see the burns. This is where it's burned out. That's a common problem with these. So let's just start breaking this down. Here's your servo, your steering controller. Go ahead and take that out. Okay, 2 screws on top of that. You're going to reuse Oops, as that falls on the floor. You're going to reuse this bracket. Here's the screws. Just remember these ones have like a little washer built in on them. Another thing I forgot to mention is the stock turning apparatus on this. We're going to reuse that. However, we're going to have to use a drill and drill out this plastic to fit the screw that comes with these. I didn't show the parts that come with these, but these come with a screw that goes in there. And I believe you can reuse the one in here, but I'm not sure. We'll tackle that when we get it. So now your servo is kind of loose. You're going to take out the front steering. And this will come apart. Just have to kind of coax it. Bigger screwdriver. Going to be difficult. There we go. Let's get that spring out of there. Then you can release this. Kind of fish this out. All right, there's the steering is out. Little screw hole in this right there. Pop that screw out. This lid will come off. There's your internal electronics. There's another screw here. Pop that out. Little circuit board box. Don't need that anymore. Get rid of that. Four screws on this circuit board. Pop that out. And this comes out. Look at that. Piece of cake, right? I'm going to go ahead and cut those wires that are on that motor control. Blue. Maybe just a little bit on there. Yellow. Okay. There's your wheels motor assembly. Here's your Mabachi motor 380. Don't change this motor out. It is the best motor for this car. I've used a couple of others. I'll probably show you those, and they did not compare with the speed that this motor was able to provide. Go ahead and move this out of there. There's another servo there. 2 power wires. I'm going to end up cutting those, but I'm going to take this switch out. Oops, don't lose these parts. Actually, we can leave that switch in there. We don't have to take it out. We're just going to cut it out. Going to leave some slack for us to play with. Go there. This one will stay. The black wire, of course, is going to stay in there. This is the black wire. Let's take this out. This will go to your battery. This Floureon battery will fit right in there, as you can see. So there will be no modifications needed here. But you're going to keep this. So just find out. So that's the wire we're going to need there. This is the other wire that we need here. So we're not going to cut that out from the switch. This is the black wire that will power. So just make them so they're equal. So these are the 2 wires that are going to go to power our motor controller, our new motor controller. This little thin black wire here, you can get rid of that. Just cut it flush. and you have, this has been completely disconnected. You're gonna need you're gonna need this. This is your steering control. Oh, it needs a smaller screwdriver. And where can I find one? And there you go. Now this is disconnected. Your old electronics can go in the garbage for the most part, if you'd like to save it. This one here actually has a very decent circuit board here. Yeah, there's no marks on it at all. Just a little bit of burn mark. This one's still viable, so I'll probably end up selling this. Toss it up on eBay, sell it for about a couple bucks. But don't need this anymore. I'll pause right here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean the dust out of this, and I'm going to show you the different motors I've tried in this so you don't make the same mistakes. Okay, these are the different motors I've tried in these JRL cars. We have the Titan 380. This one I had high hopes for. It's a much larger motor. I believe this is an 18-turn motor, and it did not perform well. It was slow. It slowed the car down. I ran this at 9.6 volts, and it didn't have the current to push the car. I even tried a LiPo battery with this, a 11.4 volt LiPo battery, I believe it was, and at that point it ran faster. However, this motor got super hot, and I ended up burning it out. So it just didn't match the car. It did not perform well for the money I paid for it. The other motor I tried was a sport tuned motor for this. I believe the JRL car has a 23-turn motor. I think this is the 18-turn, I do believe. Yeah, this is the 18-turn. This is a 12-turn. And this one, again, the same results. The car wasn't as fast with this. So just to save you some trouble, these were two motors I tried, and no luck. Maybe if you find a motor that's a 20-turn, but the other thing to take into account, this has to be a 2mm shaft. That's the other thing, and that's also hard to find. So this is the original motor, runs extremely well for the brushed series. So we'll go back to the build. All right, now for a difficult step. This is probably the hardest step of the process. You're going to take the hardware that came with the servo motor. This is for the steering. You have to modify this little turning gear. But pay close attention. I've already pulled this off. One side has teeth, and the other side is smooth. So what I recommend doing is find the side that's smooth. This is where the screw has to insert. You have to use the screw that came with the servo motor you purchased, because it fits inside there. And you can see there's some teeth, and those teeth line up with the teeth that are in this gear, and that holds it in place. Luckily that fits. The JRL matches this, but the screw hole in the center does not. So what we're going to have to do is modify it. You can see the difference. Here's the JRL screw, and then here's the screw that came with the servo motor. It's a little fatter. This also came with it, but that's the only thing you're going to use from the servo motor kit is this one screw. Now to fit the head of this one, I used a 3/16 drill bit. You can go down to 11/64, and then for the hole to fit, I'm using a 3/32 drill bit, and that's going to drill the hole so the threads can fit right through that. This is difficult, and it is easy to screw up. What you don't want to have happen to you is you blow through the whole thing. You don't want that to happen. When you're drilling these, the drill bit will want to once it bites into the plastic, it'll want to grab and pull. You want to, best as possible, try to keep that from happening. The only thing you want to do is watch that you just want to mill that out so it fits the head. Woo, don't lose these. You only send one with a kit. I almost lost it. So you see the head doesn't, the head doesn't fit in there, and you just want to get the head in there. So you select the drill bit that's thick enough that the head will slide in there. And once the head slides in there, you don't want to lose the smaller hole where the threads fit. This will hold the gear on there. If you blow through it by accident, I mean, you text me. I got a bunch of these. Send a message. I'll sell one to you. But be very careful of that. You might even want to select a drill bit that is a little smaller than this, but I'm missing a bunch, so I'm going to just go ahead and try to use this one. I guess if you had a drill press, this would work a lot better. I'm just going to go really slow. Okay. And be very careful. Figure out where your teeth are. Probably the best course of action is this. We were drilling out the smooth side. Mark it. So in case you drop it, you'll know. So I'll know, okay, that's the drill side. I'll put a little dot on there. So I know which side I'm going to bore out. And again, you don't want to bore out the teeth. You want to bore out the side where the screw goes through. Whoops, where the screw goes through. So I put a little dot so now I know I'm not going to mix it up. So I'll go ahead and hold this in place. The reason I'm using pliers is this will want to spin on you. And I'm just going to try to carefully mill this without. So I'm going to go really slow. Oh, see, it's already grabbing. So you want to back out of that. And you just want to be really careful. Just nice and easy. And back out. Just slowly get in there. So you want to have a pretty decent drill that you have a lot of control over. A drill press would be better for this because you have a lot more control than you do with a hand, but a hand drill. But you use what you got, you know. Okay, I'm gonna back out. And just slowly, just take your time, because like I said, it wants to grab and pull it. And if you let that happen, it's gonna go, you know, it's gonna grab and pull right through it, and you're done. So you're just looking in that hole, just to make sure you're not. It's grabbing again. Hold off. You know, sometimes it even works just maybe do some of this by hand to kind of clear away some of those plastic shrapnels. Okay, I'm gonna look inside there. I think I've almost got this. I'm gonna do the rest kind of by hand here. Again, be careful, don't hurt yourself. Okay, I'm getting really close to that. Good, good. Okay, let's clean this out now. Just clean this out. Again, I'm kind of doing the last few millimeters by, ooh, see, I almost did it. See, I got that. Almost accidentally got the wrong side. That's really good why you want to mark the side you're drilling, because you don't want to drill out your teeth. Okay, so I'm just going to finish that with this, and now I finished that. So now this screw head fits in there. See that? Now you're good to go. So now you're going to take the smaller drill bit, the 2/32 drill bit, and I'll put that in a chuck. You don't have to be so careful with this one because you're just milling out the hole that's already there, and not by much. Just like that. Okay, that's the 3/32. So you look down in there. So now when we put this screw in there, it fits. See that? And give it a couple spins just to make sure it's free. Just like that. So now when you slide this on here, and you'll do this a little bit later when you get everything installed, the servo motor will be the last thing you do, but now I have this completed, and you can even tighten it on there to see the fit, and it'll pull it in and you're good to go. But I'm gonna do this last, but just so I don't lose anything, I'm just gonna leave that in there like that. So next time I come back to it, I know I got all my parts. They're not going to roll off the desk somewhere, and and then I would lose them. I always keep all this stuff because you never know when you need this on a future project, you know. So I always keep a lot of this around, the stuff that comes with the servo kits and such. But again, why we do this last is this: we got to find the center point on this motor, and the only way to do that is you have everything installed, powered up, and then center, because what you have the alignment on the controller. See, you want to find center on your controller and this, and once you find center, then you pop on the gear and eye it up, make sure the wheels are straight. And we'll go through that alignment process, and once that's complete, then we'll glue everything into place, and then in a couple hours you'll be ready to use it. So I'm going to put this off to the side, and we'll continue the build. Okay, we're back here. I just want to clarify, I made a mistake earlier talking about these motors. The shaft diameter on this is 2.3 millimeters, just for the record. And the way you remove these from here is to heat them up, and they'll pop out with the blowtorch for the most part, and they'll slip out. But you don't want to use those motors anyways. But back to the wiring on this. Before you throw out these old electronics, I forgot to mention you want to keep this bracket here, because when you remount your rear wheels, this piece of plastic goes on here like that. The original screws, if you don't have any extra screws, you'll have to reuse these long ones. Without this motor controller in there, you have to use short screws. You can see how long these have to go. So what you want to do, if you don't have any extra short screws laying around that can fit into these holes, you want to reuse the old ones. That's pretty simple. You want to remove this circuit board. Just take the screw off of here. Pop that out. This slips right out. You can kind of see how that worked at one time. This is actually in really good shape, so I may actually sell this one. It's a good replacement board. But this plastic piece should pop right out, and you can reuse this. So put this over here. So what you'll do is you'll slip out right here, just right on there, and then that allows you to use the longer screw to put that right back in there if you don't have a short one. So there's a piece you'll be reusing when you put the rear wheels back on. So let me put this in the save jar. Now, finding mounting places for your motor controller. Here's your motor controller here. Double stick tape will get you through this a lot faster, but I don't have any at the moment. So I'm just going to use a couple dabs of shoe goo. You can fit these motors where the old one was, or you can put them here. It's really up to you. You just want to make sure the wires fit. I'm going to mount mine on top of this battery case here, because on the side here there's settings for the type of battery you're going to use. So you want to get that setting correct. If you have it in here, you can't really see that anymore unless you write down and remember where it was, just because it you know, kind of buries it in there. So I'm going to mount it up here just like that. You can see, just to do some dry fitting. Another thing you're going to want to do, you'll have to glue this in there. You want to cut this to about 3 inches. This is the antenna tube that comes with your controller or your receiver. So I'm going to cut this to 3 inches. Yeah, right there. And just snip that off of there. All right. Because what we're going to do with that is we're going to place it, we're going to get our receiver. Let's feed that through there. This antenna is not going to stick up through the body of the vehicle. Before, the antenna would stick out the back here. That's really not required anymore because it's a shorter antenna. And also, if you have it mounted all the way in the rear where it was before, the wires are short on this. You can add wires to that, but it's really not worth the extra effort. I like to mount them right about here. Oops, about this way. And then what I'll do is I will use this shoe goo to glue the antenna just like that, and then when you put the top of the vehicle on, it just kind of sticks up into the cab area of your car. These receivers are really powerful. You don't need this antenna to be outside of the vehicle. It could just sit just like this and work absolutely fine, and no range issues whatsoever. So you won't have an antenna sticking out of this RC car anymore, which is actually pretty nice, because that doesn't, you're not going to have that antenna get in the way of things. When you're putting away the car, you don't have to worry about breaking it. A lot of times I've snapped off the antenna when they stick out of the side of the back of the car like that. You can easily, if the car flips over, it'll break. You know, sometimes this plastic will snap. So not having this is a real advantage. So that's gonna go here. I'm gonna put the motor controller up here. I made a little mistake earlier. This is actually wired a little different than I remembered. So I'm gonna cut this off. If this is in a better shape than your other one, you could reuse this. But in this situation, mine's in good shape, so I'm just gonna cut this off. Just like that. I was like, I'll cut it right here. All right, snip, snip. And just remember, red with red, black with black. Again, this is your Tamiya connector wire. It is not the other one. These other two wires here are for your motor. So I'm going to take this. This is going to actually, later we'll solder these to the motor. But now we're just hooking up, going to hook up the power stuff. So just to prepare for that, I'm going to go ahead and cut this off from the switch. Cut that flush. Well, these are the two wires here. I'm just going to cut them so they're equal. And this is the two wires that go to this Tamiya connector here. And let me just make sure that connector is still good. Yeah, it's still a good connector. If, like I said, if it wasn't in great shape, you'd reuse this. Just hook these wires up here. But this was decent shape, so there's no need to do that. All right. So just make sure that this stuff is gonna reach. Yep, it will reach. So we're gonna connect black on black, red on red. But for right now, I'm gonna glue things down before I get everything wired up. Here's the switch on this controller, and we're gonna utilize this switch here. You don't need this wire that's connected to the switch anymore. Just remember where these were on the switch, because you're gonna actually reuse the location of those, the on-off switch. So we don't need this wire anymore. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and glue this stuff down. This motor actually connects to channel 2. I put it backwards. It actually connects to channel 2. The servo goes to channel 1 for your steering. And I just want to dry fit this just to make sure you don't, before you glue it down, everything's going to fit. So I'm going to put that there, not like that, like this, just like that. And this little antenna that I cut to 3 inches, I'm going to wrap it around and glue it, you know, somewhere around here, just like that. And I know that this is going to fit, and I know that this is going to reach over here. So now that I know that, I'll unplug that so it's not going to put any stress in there. Oh, and the camera falls. Alright, so simplify things for the gluing process. I'm going to just remove this for now. Just put this aside. That's the battery connector. Just to make sure we got a lot of room in there. You get some tape. Masking tape works, whatever tape you have. You're just going to want to temporarily hold things down. I'm just going to use electric tape. Masking tape would probably work best. I'm going to go ahead and put in the controller. The thick wires on this side. This is the front of the car. This is the back of the car over here. So just to give you some orientation. And the reason I'm bonding it like this is so these wires can reach and be close proximity to the switch. So it's going to take a couple dabs of the shoe goo. It doesn't take a lot, just a little bit on there. And some of these motor controllers come with double stick tape, so that would speed things up. And you want to make sure this is relatively clean before you do this. So I'm going to set that in there, press it into place. Just so it doesn't move on you while you're doing this stuff, I'm going to tape it down. Just so it doesn't move around while I'm working on it. Just to hold it into place. In about an hour, you'll be able to work with this and not have to worry about it moving around. And overnight, it'll dry for you. And the nice part about the shoe goo stuff is it's not a permanent bond. It's like a rubbery type cement, but it's really strong. It's almost, can't really describe it. It's meant to repair your shoes, so it's still flexible. So later, if your controller burns out, all you guys do is a little screwdriver and pry it up. It'll pop right up, and the glue will peel off, which is really nice. So you can start all over again. Using double stick tape works too, but that stuff pries up as well. So this one's gonna be a little more interesting to put in. So I'm gonna put it in this orientation, kind of close to the switch, but right next to the side. So go ahead and I'll take a couple dabs on this as well. This stuff dries pretty quick. See, I got a little bit on there. Don't put like a ton. Just gonna press it into place. I take a little bit of this tape again, just temporarily to hold it there, so don't move around on us while we're installing the other devices. Let's go like that. Okay, this was the slightly more difficult one to install. We're going to put this antenna, so it just kind of, you see how I wrapped it around? Just put it right like that. And so what I'm going to do is put a little glue. Oh, this one you put a little bit more because you want to bury that antenna in there. So there I got a kind of a big, you can see a big glob of glue right there. Okay, it doesn't dry right away, so you got a little bit of time to work with this. I'm gonna go ahead and get my little piece of tape. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and bury that antenna in the glue. I'm going to roll it around between your fingers, that way it takes up the glue, and it's already even kind of almost holding it in place. So I'm going to take this tape. Oops, it's moving. And if it dries and it's not straight, you don't have to worry about it. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm going to put tape right over it, and it will dry around this tape, and you'll be able to peel this tape off when you're done. See, it's already starting to go crooked on me there. So I'm going to try another piece of tape, kind of straighten it out. You're never going to see it once the top's secured on there, but I like to get somewhat neat. Let me go ahead and straighten this out again. Push it down, and then just get a little bit of tape like that to kind of hold it straight. Okay, so now that tape is holding that antenna up, as you can see. The controller's in there. Let's straighten this out. It's starting to move a little bit. Peel this tape up. In about an hour or so, you'll be able to pull this tape off. I'm going to let this dry overnight, and like I said, and I'm going to come back to this in the morning and do part 2 of this video. And as you can see, the controller's in, the receiver's in, and the antenna here is in place. That's all for now, and we'll come back. I'll come back to you tomorrow morning.